Hello, my name is Wayne Estrada and I've been involved in professional corporate training for over 30 years. And in this video, we're going to talk about the ins and outs of online training. Now, there are many pieces and components to this, so please hang on because there's a lot of good information here for you. First of all, online training does provide a very convenient means for people to take a class. Whether you're a corporation wanting to provide training for many people in different locations, or you're just an individual wanting to take a training class. They're convenient and they're generally low cost. Now, there are some major impediments to online training. I'd like to refer back to a previous video where I said, what is the number one most important thing when you take a training class? And that is that you go back and are immediately productive. So let's talk about what are the impediments to stopping somebody from being as productive in an online class versus a instructor-led class, and there are many. I was recently speaking to one of my old friends from IBM, fellow instructor named Ray Hogan, and he mentioned to me that he felt he was about 30% less effective teaching an online class than a stand-up class, and I would wholly agree with that. Not only is it less effective for the instructor, despite all of the different things that we can pull out with graphics and slides and on-screen video, but it's also less effective for the participant because they don't have the benefit of interacting with the instructor. The number one element that makes classes good, actually two elements, are the interaction of students and their different ideas and people asking questions. I would say that it's probably 35 to 45% less effective for an online student because they don't tend to ask as many questions of the instructor. No matter how good the course materials are, invariably there are going to be questions and you'll want to interact with the instructor. For whatever reason, people are less likely to ask questions in that environment. Now, there's some also technical impediments as well. Normally classes are taught over systems like WebEx or GoToMeeting, and they're about the same. But I've noticed in both of those systems that their systems can get overloaded at certain times of the day or the week, and that experience that the instructor is getting from the students or vice versa could be slowed down or delayed, which can cause some frustration. Now, the second technical component of this is what type of an interactive system are they working on? Two ways. One is that you could connect to a real live system, and I've taught both Unix classes and IBM Cognos classes connecting to a real live system, and that works out pretty well. The second methodology is to have some sort of a virtual machine system, and there are two problems with that as well. One is that, let's say you have 10 people in an online class. I would say that usually one or two people have problems connecting to the online system because of it wasn't set up correctly, or there might be a firewall issue, or they just didn't follow the directions. So connecting to a regular system that they're familiar with is probably a much more preferable way of doing it. So that's another issue as well. Now, getting back to the instructor, as an instructor, one thing that all good instructors do is we're constantly looking at body language. We're seeing if people are getting it. As the class is doing exercise, we can walk around to the back of their screens and we can look back and survey the entire classroom and see where people are on their screens, what page they are on the book. In an online class, we do not have that capability, and that is a huge impediment to learning. So along that lines, with an online system, how do I know whether people are actually doing the work? Well, in some systems I've used, the instructor has the ability to peek at people's screens. The problem with that is that I don't have enough screen real estate or mouse flexibility to jump over and look at multiple people's screens while I'm teaching a class. It's just not possible. And that takes us to the student side of the experience. If you are taking an online class and you're using a system like GoToMeeting or WebEx and you're connecting to some sort of system, you need to have two screens. And here's the reason why. You need to have one screen so that you can see the instructor and their screen, and one screen to see the screen that you're working on. Oftentimes people use a tablet as the window into the instructor, and then they use their PC or laptop as the ability to interact with the class. If you're trying to do it all on one laptop screen, it just does not work, so please use two screens. Now, the next thing I'm going to say is rather controversial because it might be even a little bit politically incorrect, but I've taught people from all age groups, from millennials up to people with 30 and 40 years of IT experience. My experience, the younger generations like to interact electronically. Now, the problem with that is that you don't get a full response back electronically. We've seen this problems with emails that are sent that are misunderstood or text messages that aren't complete. So on these online systems, we have the ability to have a chat window, and oftentimes that can be an effective way to get a short question, but if there's a more involved question, we can't really answer it without it being spoken. And people are reticent to actually speak, usually on these online systems. In a classroom environment, the big benefit we have is the interaction of people. Every class is different. There's some classes I've taught literally over 300 times, and I never get tired of it because of one reason, and that is that the people interact in a different way. Some classes are dead, some classes are very, very active and lively. And it's that interaction that adds to the learning experience. That occasionally can happen with an online class, but generally does not. Which leads me to another topic. If you're having an online class for your corporation and people know each other and there are different geographical locations, that's probably the best case scenario. If you're signing up for a vendor, it doesn't matter what the vendor is, and you have people from all these different companies, it's usually not as good of an experience because people are not willing to participate as they normally would if they knew each other. So that's one major factor in making that class be a good experience. Well, I hope you found this to be useful today. If you have any questions, please contact me at ibmcognitionstraining@smarttriangles.com, or of course you can reach me on LinkedIn. And I do thank you for watching today.